Hey, hello, how are you? It's me, Emthecreative1. I want to talk and read a little bit about something important. You know what I'm saying? What is anxiety? You get it. I get it. We all get it. But can we control our anxiety is the question. Anxiety can be characterized by intense feelings of nervousness, extreme worry, intrusive thoughts. Those are the worst. And physical symptoms such as dizziness, shakiness, sweating, or increased heart rate. That's terrible if you can't control it. People will often, very understandably, avoid situations that bring about these feelings. Continuous avoidance, though, can significantly interfere with one's day-to-day functioning. Did you know that? It is so important for us to remember that anxiety is a naturally occurring human experience. Not to be afraid of our anxiety, of course. For this reason, there's no way to avoid it completely. You know what I mean? Anxiety is going to happen. So if we try to run from it, that's just not realistic. You'd have to isolate away from everyone, life itself. And then sometimes that's not even a way out because you have triggers that can create anxiety. So it's such a difficult situation to be in. In fact, it's necessary for our survival and protection to understand how to regulate our own anxiety. It's what makes us think to look both ways before crossing the street. Our anxiety, of course. It's what tells us to run fast if we are being chased by a robber. In moderate amounts, anxiety motivates us to achieve our goals. It pushes us to do well in school, in sports, and at work. If anxiety can be beneficial, then why does it feel so bad? You know what I mean? Sometimes it feels so bad. To start, human beings are wired for survival and contentment, not a permanent state of happiness. No one is going to be consistently happy 24/7 all the time. That's not realistic. Sorry. Yet, as a society, we have this notion that we must always strive for perfect happiness. What are we doing? I mean, what are we doing? We're seriously setting ourselves up for failure. Yet, we ain't doing nothing to fix it. Not in a way that promotes change, positive change. So when we feel anything other than happy, we interpret the feeling as bad and something to get rid of immediately. What happens, though, when our not so happy emotion is the proper emotional response to a situation? What happens then? For example, if you lost your job, it would be an extremely appropriate response to be sad. But because we are so focused on achieving this goal of happiness, we try hard to avoid any emotion that contradicts it. This is why phrases such as, "it could be worse," or "positive vibes only," can be so invalidating. It's something known as toxic positivity. I used to do that. I had no clue that was positively toxic. Toxic positivity. You learn so much, I'm telling you. Just read. Toxic positivity is the idea that we should always be happy, regardless of the situation. That feeling appropriately sad or anxious is somehow bad. However, trying to avoid uncomfortable feelings creates a more intense version of the emotions we are trying so hard to squash. So some anxiety is normal, folks. It's okay. We are going to get through it. And it can be counterproductive to try to get rid of it entirely. But when anxiety becomes constant and consists of irrational worry that won't turn off, when it begins to cause significant problems in your life, like avoiding people, places, and things that pose no real danger, that's when it may really require attention. If you've been feeling this way, you may have a clinical anxiety disorder, and that's not to be played with, folks. Anxiety is the most common mental health diagnosis in the United States. Did you know that? Affecting approximately 40 million adults annually. Almost 18% of the population. Mind-blowing, isn't it? And while anxiety disorders are very treatable, only about 35% of people suffering from clinical anxiety receive any type of treatment. Clinical anxiety can present itself in a variety of ways, including social anxiety disorder, SAD, obsessive compulsive disorder, OCD, generalized anxiety disorder, GAD, and panic disorder. Did you know all of them are associated with anxiety? Come on now. Whether or not your experience of anxiety reaches the level of a clinical anxiety disorder, practicing mindfulness can help. It really can. It will teach you various techniques to help you sit with your anxiety and stress rather than trying to get rid of them. In addition, it will, I guess you could say, offer strategies to manage day-to-day stress, practicing mindfulness, and sitting in those tough feelings and really trying to unpack them. Just learning how to better manage this everyday stress can help you remain present, focused longer, increase productivity, and lead to an overall improvement in relationships and mental well-being. That sounds great, doesn't it? You deserve to have a better experience of relationships. Better daily stress management also puts you at a lower risk of developing a clinical anxiety or mood disorder, and you don't want one. I promise you that. To understand our anxiety, we need to break it down into 4 fundamental components: our emotions, our body, our thoughts, and our behaviors. Our emotions consist of all the feelings that come up for us in any given situation, such as anger, worry, guilt, or sadness. Our body represents the actual physical sensations we experience when we are anxious. For example, a racing heartbeat, shallow breathing, upset stomach, and a headache. It also includes psychological changes, such as increases in a stress hormone called cortisol. The third component of anxiety is our thought process, better known as cognition. This includes the thoughts we have about ourselves, others, and our relationship to the outside world. Some examples of anxious thought processes include, everyone will laugh at me. What if my headache isn't just a headache? Or, what if no one likes my business proposal and it gets rejected? Lastly, we have our behaviors, or what we actually do in response to our anxiety. These behaviors can include anything from eating too much to social isolation. For example, you decide to stay home alone rather than attend a friend's birthday party because you're too anxious to go. Or you have a work presentation in the morning and public speaking makes you horrifically anxious. You have to tackle these things. Can't let it win.